a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
Multi-camera sequences. When do you want to set up a multi-camera sequence? Because you don't want to use it for every edit that you do, but if you did a live event and you have multiple cameras happening, excellent time to use a multi-camera sequence setup. If you're doing music videos, excellent time to do a multi-camera sequence setup, because ideally you've probably filmed a lot of takes of the performers doing their song, and you want to stack those and be able to put them into a multi-camera sequence setup rather than stacking them all and turning on and off eyeballs on each layer. It'd be kind of, well, you'll just miss out on a lot of stuff if you're trying to do that, and it'll take forever. So, multi-camera setup, first thing that you got to do is you got to line up a couple of takes. Now, or multiple cameras. You can do a lot, as much as your computer can handle, and I do recommend creating proxies if you have more. Well, it just depends on the power of your computer. It's great to just go ahead and create proxies of your files if you're going to be stacking layers on top of each other, because a multi-camera sequence setup is very taxing on your computer. However, if you create low resolution proxies, of which I do have a video for that, you can watch that if you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about proxies, but they're low resolution files of all of your footage. You can just look that video up if you don't know how to do that. But you want to create proxies. That way you can stack way more layers on top of each other, because you're running all these low resolution versions. And you're going to need to sync them, not sequence them. You're going to want to sync those together. So here's an example. I've already got 2 clips pulled in. The example today is a music video, because I'm working on one for the Cue the Muse show thing that I'm trying to make.
My tears are born from pure lament.
And I am in it, you know, heads up. This is a music video movie thing that I'm in. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, if you were going to try to synchronize them using Adobe's automatic audio sync, it can be very hard for it to pick up when you're doing a music video, okay? Because when you're doing a music video, what you'll run into is that the audio that was recorded of the performer playing along to the studio track, that audio is oftentimes, especially for drummers, it can be blown out because you were playing it so loud for the band to play over, or especially for the drummer to play over. There's echo that's happening in it because it was played in a room, so you got it bouncing all around. Adobe Audio Sync can have issues trying to figure out, especially if the song is complex. So a lot of times you're doing it by ear and eye, and that is exactly what I've run into with this. If you were going to do audio sync, though, just so you know how to do it, you can give it a try for every clip. Maybe it'll work for you, but you just stack a couple of video layers on top of one another. You'd select them both at the same time. You would right-click on them, and then you would choose Synchronize. And at that point, you can see that it's going to sync it by audio. You'd hit OK. And in this example, I feel it didn't work for this, because for one thing, the drummer wasn't even playing to a PA or anything. He was playing to earbuds behind his hair. So that was the only way he could hear and play. And so there's just drums by itself, and it doesn't understand how to line up drums to a studio track that has all this other music happening in it. So what you're going to want to do is a big tip for doing it by eye and ear is that you can find in the waveforms either breakpoints, sometimes that can work for you, or you can just listen to the song and just find where there's a very obvious part where everything kind of comes in and hits. I know the song. I'm not going to play a lot of this song for you because we're not supposed to even be revealing any of this footage or song, but this is such a private little community of learning how to edit. Don't tell the partners of Cue the Muse. All right, well, if they find out, hey, I'm sorry if you saw this. All right, no, I know where a breaking point is, but this is an example. The drums, again, they're by themselves. See, he went from... That's definitely a big change part, so I know where that is. You can use your arrows to tap along frame by frame. I do that all the time. There's been editors that don't realize that you can just do that. You can tap left and right on your arrow, and it'll scrub your timeline one frame at a time. Boom. I just started to hear him. I'm gonna make a cut there. Use a shortcut command of Control-K is what I've designed. Maybe it's there by default. And then in the studio track over here, I've already got that part selected. Look, I'm just skipping to the chase here because you just want to know how to do it. So I'm going to line that over. I'm going to hone in on it real quick, and then I'm going to proof check, because sometimes it needs to slide one way or the other. Also, a performer might play a little bit ahead of the beat or behind the beat on parts, so you kind of want to check out later down the line. I'm not going to do all that for today, but just get these 2 takes set up. So I'm going to turn his off, because it sounds like there's an echo, and there is, but there was an echo in the natural environment by itself, if we listen to it by itself. See, there's like a second hit back, it's almost like a delay. So that's not a good indicator necessarily if it's not lining up. So what we want to do is we want to go frame by frame and just see if it's matching up to the studio track by itself at this point, because we know we got it that close. Pretty good. I think we're good. All right, so sometimes you'll find out later that it's like a frame by frame. So there's one camera, here's the second camera. Gotta listen to the audio. Find that same breaking point that's towards the beginning. Again, I know the song because I play it. It's not the part that you're interested in. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna go frame by frame until I hear that first hit. Just the slightest part of the hit. That was it. Hear it? It's just the beginning of the hit. It's not the full hit, but that's where you wanna, I mean, whatever works for you, but this is the way I do it. I look for a snare hit or a big part that comes in, like he hits the snare pretty powerfully there. I'm gonna drag this over, and then I'll just proof check it real quick. Solo, solo, so I'm not hearing Tim's drums with echo already in it, the drummers. Got a glitch happening here, that's fine. Okay, it looks like I'm lined up. So then you just take your clips and you drag them all the way back out, and then you've got the full thing in a sequence set up. Now we could just keep doing this, and then you'd have tons of stacks of layers, because I do that. I mean, if I click over here and look at this one, I mean, the end result, you're like, well, what is that even? Doesn't look impressive, but when you do it like this, ta-da, you know, that's what we're gonna get to in just a second, is that you have it all set up and you've got all these layers, and you can just literally click on any of these and it'll make cuts. I'll show you in a second. So we're gonna just go ahead and select them both, right click, choose nest, sorry. And we'll just, what I personally do is I just rename it the same name as the nest, the timeline that I already started creating. And then I just add the word nest to it, so that way I have both. You're gonna wanna have access to those layers pretty regularly. If you realize something has slid off or you need to make an adjustment, you can go back to all the video layers that you set up, slide things around as you need to, then go back to your nested multicam sequence, which is what we're creating now. I'm just gonna call this multicam. I might be moving too fast, you might be confused, but it'll make sense in a second. I'm just gonna call it multicam 2 and add the word nest, even though that's not the original name. Title it whatever you want, guys. All right, and then I hit OK, and then it turns into this amazingly non-amazing thing. I'm toggling on and off my multi-camera view. You can add that button by clicking on the plus icon here, and you can drag this multi-camera toggle button into your main assortment of buttons, and that's what I've got here. So even if I turn that on, all I'm seeing is a mirrored version of my ass. Let's get to a more flat. Oh, at least I'm picking my leg up there. What's it's still not amazing. So we right click on the nest, go to multi-camera, and hit enable. It's so weird. I don't know why we have to do that, but that's what we do. And then boom, there's both angles simultaneously. And the way that this works now, again, you can just keep doing this. You saw how many other layers I had for the other setup of the other performance section. But if I just hit play for a second, I'm gonna turn off the camera audio and hear just the studio track. And as it's playing, you can actually just click on one, and then you can click back to the other, and then you can click back to the other, you know, whenever you want, and then click back over to this one, and then when you hit stop, watch what happens to this nest. Look at that, all the cuts are there. Now, I honestly don't really use that feature that much. If I do something like this, what I'll do is, there's no way I hit it exactly perfect. I'll go back in and then I'll find where I really want it to cut exactly. I just knew that I wanted to cut there and the general idea of who I wanted to cut to or something like that. And you can still just slide these around like that, right? You can still just slide it exactly so it'd line up just on the beat. See how this is off the beat? You kind of want everything to change on a hit or a beat, so then it would feel a little bit better. Because I wouldn't even was talking while I was doing that. Like that changes in the middle of nothing. See how it changed there on time? And then boom, there'd be another hit. So I'd bring this over. One other tip is just a quick tool that you can use is rather than sliding this over to this hit right here and then sliding this over to this hit, you can go over here to what's by default your ripple edit tool. And if you hit that, like hold on it, you can get the rolling edit tool. And then if you grab and slide, look, it moves them both at the same time. Pretty nice, right? And then while you're in this multi-camera edit, let's say that you were like, I really wanted this to be the other camera. No problem, the cut's already there. You just click on the camera that you wanted it to be, and it has changed it there. So whatever section of a clip that your timeline indicator is hovering over, if you select a camera while you're just sitting paused on that, it's gonna change it to that camera. So that's really nice too. And then at the end, what you can do, especially if this is taxing your system, let's say you get to the point, this is all log footage, so it looks, you know, flat, milky, and crap, and they're proxies. But let's say you get to the point where you're wanting to color grade, if you're color grading inside of Premiere, which is actually how I do all my videos. Surprisingly, I don't use Resolve or something like that. You can then select your, let's say we made cuts all the way through here, and we want to turn them back into the original video cut. So all your actual video layers are there, especially if you're using raw footage clips and you want to have access to your source files. You just want it all in one timeline. All you do is you just select everything, you right click, and then on the multi-camera, you're going to hit flatten. And look, it turned them back into the original clips, just as if you had been using all that regular footage in here and not the nested sequence. So that's super helpful. And one last tip I'm going to give you, I'm Control-Zing to bring that back. Something else you can do is, like, before you just do that, I really recommend that you either make a copy of your nest and name it another, you know, numeric number further down the line. So you'd call it multi-camera 2 copy or multi-camera 3 or something like that. But you want to have access to this again. But if you want to keep it all in the same timeline, what you can actually do is you can just select all of it and then just hold Alt, or you can do Control-C and then Control-V, whatever floats your boat for copying. But I just created another copy of it on top, and then that's the layer that I would turn into a flattened original footage layer. And then I can turn the eyeball off on my multi-camera edit, so that way there's not the 2 layers of all that craziness stacked on, so it's not taxing my computer too much. And then boom, I have that to go back to anytime I need to. I could just like, oh, I really need to get back to the other camera. You could just delete this one clip. You could click here back in your multi-camera sequence, and then you could choose the camera view that you wanted, and then copy paste that up, or alt click drag like I most often do. And then I have a shortcut command set up for this, Control F, but normally, you know, that automatically just flattened it for me. But if you didn't have that, you would just right click. I love shortcuts. Shortcuts are a lifesaver, but you just right click, multi-camera, flatten. And then look, it turned it in to the original clip, right? And then again, you know, turn that eyeball off on the multi-camera sequence that's under it so it's not taxing it anymore. So again, you would use this not just for music videos, you could use this for live event stuff as well.
Seeing Jeremy and some of the stuff that he could do as far as the speed of the repair and structural.
It makes it so much more intuitive to be able to bounce around and see everything that you've got going on, because to be able to go through this and see all these cameras at the same time, you get to immediately see exactly what you're missing out on. If you weren't using this method and you were just trying to do eyeballs on and off and you had all the layers stacked up and you're just, you know, like when I say that, you know, these eyeballs on and off, see what's under that layer and this layer, you're gonna find something that you like, but you don't know, and then you're gonna just go with it, which, you know, let destiny ride it out that way. That can be an amazing edit still. But you definitely don't know what you might be missing out on in that area, because before you know it, you're just gonna go to the point that you're satisfied or you fall in love with something, and you don't know that you're missing out on the other thing that's actually more powerful, because you can't just see it and you're not taking the extra time to click on and off all those eyeballs. So multi-camera setups are super useful. I definitely use them for music videos, live events. You might find other reasons to use them. So good luck with that. Yeah, have fun with multi-camera setups. All right, guys, take care. See you.
Hey, put those down. Those aren't yours.
Get out of here! Oh! We're not fighting to bring back only humanity's creative forces, but the muses as well. One song will not suffice, gentlemen. We need 4, a full rock EP.
Okay, man, on my 3 count, engage your pedal for transport. 1, 2, 3.
Ash.
Dick?